My name's Rosemary Arnott. I'm a geriatric medicine registrar and teaching fellow in elderly care medicine and general medicine here at NUH. And this morning I'll be conducting two presentations based on two different digital learning packages that I created or helped create. One of them was a group project, one was an individual project for medical students. They were created as part of the Technology Enhanced Education module for the University of Nottingham Masters in Medical Education, which I'm currently doing at the moment. So although the two learning packages are a bit different, quite different, one of them is on a social media learning package for students that we created in an online space, and the other one is a multidisciplinary team learning package created for the HCOLL curriculum course here at NUH. The main theme running across both of them is collaboration. So the first package was made in collaboration with the end users, so that's something that links in something that Janet Grant was talking about, and I'm pleased to say that Lavanya Umashankar, who supported us in that, is here to discuss that with me today. So I was just going to start to discuss the digital learning package that I created for medical students. I'm going to take you through what we created and why we created it, and then me and Lavanya are going to have a chat about it afterwards. So basically, as this group project, we came together as a group, and so doctors across East Midlands doing this particular module, thinking about areas that we felt that medical students, or there wasn't a whole, basically. I guess as Janet was saying, you're not trying to reinvent the wheel, you're trying to think about what actual gaps are there in learning and how can technology fill that gap. And how technology can work for you rather than you just using the technology because the technology is there. So something that we were quite acutely aware of was the use of social media amongst medical students. There is guidance from the GMC about how to use social media, although it's quite old, it's 2013. And there's also some learning packages out there, but they really focus on professionalism and how to be professional in that environment. We all know that medical students have the same becoming good medical practice is the sort of GMC guidance for medical students. So they are expected to act in a way that is similar to doctors, which includes how they use an online space. But actually using online spaces and social media appropriately is actually as much about how to get stuff out of it as to how to conduct yourself in that. So we wanted to create a learning package that was easily accessible, that was in a format that they were familiar with, and could sort of show them sort of the other side, not just the how to be professional, but how to use social media in a way that can actually support their learning. So I'm just going to show you what we created, and then I'll have a chat with Lavanya. So this is basically, you know, we didn't want to create a whole website because, you know, we don't have the skills to create a website. So this is a blog site, something that medical students potentially will be quite familiar with. So wordpress.com. This is the welcome page. And first of all, one of our colleagues actually created this video. So all the thumbnails have a similar theme, which was brilliant, created by Navin, one of the other group leaders. So this video actually has other doctors and medical students talking about how they use social media. There's a quiz about the GMC guidance because we need to have something in there about professionalism. This is actually something we're probably going to expand further because feedback from the students has been that actually probably we don't have enough around the professionalism aspect of it. We then got a bit around how to use the resource. So there's an engagement section, there's a discuss and do section at the end, and then the tutorials. So we've got 4 tutorials, each created by different members of our team, and then you can leave a comment. So engaging with social media, our digital footprint. So this was based, so basically describing the concept of visitors and residents, which is a model around how you use social media and how you interact with that environment, then applying it to thinking about how you create your own digital footprint, and then reflecting on how that might change as a medical student or as a doctor in the future. So I've got a think section, which is a question, and then an explanation around what visitor and resident were. And then there's a video, so this is from YouTube. So trying to, again, use different medias within this context around what a visitor and resident mapping is, and then creating your own visitor and resident map. And this is mine. So basically how you use the online space, whether you're a visitor within it, so whether you just go to sites and don't actually interact with them, or whether you're a resident, as in how you interact with them. So obviously things like WhatsApp are very interactive, whereas just looking on searching through the internet, you're just searching, or using Wikipedia, you'll just be a visitor. So thinking about what is personal, what is professional, and how those overlap, because I think that's a really important subject when thinking about medical students, and how, what is personal, what is professional, and how do I think about how those interact. And I think a lot of people haven't thought about that as medical students. I think that's a quite useful thing to think about. And then there's an area about questions. We were going to use an online space called Slack where they could be interactive, but I will discuss that with Lavanya, because that didn't work quite as well as we were hoping. So what I'm going to do, I'm aware that was quite a whistle-stop tour through it. Please do go to the website, take a look yourself. So that's the address at the top, socialmediasavvymedical.wordpress.com. And if you think it would be useful for other medical students that to have a look at it, then please do point them in that direction. So Lavanya and I are just going to have a bit of a chat about it, because she's been involved in it as an end user, and why that worked well. And this is around the concept of sort of usability testing. So Lavanya, what was interesting about being involved in this project?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I mean, when you approached me with that, I thought it was just a good way to kind of tailor the package, because obviously being a medical student myself and speaking to other students as well, have a good idea on like what we've sort of already seen a lot of, or what information we have a lot about, and what we have like the more sort of gaps in our learning, or what we're not so familiar with. So I thought I could sort of bring that insight in, which would be really interesting, and just make a package which is quite specific to my cohort anyway, and what we've already been provided with, and what we're sort of missing. So that would just sort of maximize the engagement of the package as well then.
Yeah, because I think engagement's a big thing, isn't it? Because obviously we don't want to repeat what's already there, and obviously we want to be able to use a platform that is going to be familiar to students and be something that's interactive, but also fairly informal as well, was kind of what we were going for, really.
Yeah, exactly.
So this kind of ties in with this idea of usability testing, which is where you basically are trying to understand your end user and engaging with them in creating something a bit like market research, really. And I think, as Janet Grant was saying, actually it's something we maybe don't do as much as we should with students, and maybe don't do enough of in medical education. One area that I just wanted to discuss with you, Lavanya, was around this sort of blended learning. So in medical education, we want to know what our students are learning, for starters, and we want to be able to interact with them. But something that we struggled with this project was that we wanted to create an online space where the people could interact, but actually in our feedback, students didn't seem to be very keen on the idea of that. And I didn't know if you had any sort of thoughts about why that might have been the case, or barriers that you see with people sort of interacting and being in that environment.
Yeah, because I think when we were creating the project, we were sort of saying that we just wanted something, I think I was emphasizing that it was just something that should be kind of a short, bite-sized package that will just grab everyone's attention and wouldn't go on for too long. I think this was sort of spoken about before anyway, but just because of COVID, we're just like inundated with so much online stuff and resources that any extra sort of online resource is just a bit of a barrier in itself. So anything that's sort of a quick, short burst of learning is something that seems to be more kind of engaging for us, and we know that we'll get something from it, but it won't take very long either, because I think ultimately we want a lot more like face-to-face teaching, as we were discussing. So if it is an online package, obviously there's so many advantages to it, and it's so accessible in that way, but as long as it's just like a short amount of time that's needed, I think that's probably like the best thing going forward.
And I think I saw a really good Twitter conversation actually around social media usage, which was I think a month or so ago now, but actually using platforms that students are familiar with. The platform we were considering using is maybe something students weren't as familiar with, and so actually engaging with them where they're at is probably the best way, as you say, in small short bursts. So so I think that's something that we can think about moving forwards.
Yeah, because I think we mentioned Instagram as well, but it's obviously like it's different, with the timescale and what we have access to at the moment. But that's a really good platform, which and there's lots of sort of learning resources on there. And it's just a quick post, and a lot of students engage with it, and it doesn't take a lot of time, and it also allows you to sort of comment down and ask questions as well. So that's quite a good example of engaging with the audience. Yeah.
So I think in summary, we created this package. It had some good feedback. It didn't do exactly what we wanted maybe first time round, but we're sort of thinking about ways that we can maybe expand on it for the future and try and improve student engagement. And hopefully, Lavanya and I already had a bit of a conversation last night about how we could actually do that moving forwards into the future. So